construction is one of those rare places where you can get in construction and be anything you want, from laborer to executive to finance to marketing.
Kids don't even know this stuff exists. It's not about writing novels. It's about creating things that people can watch, read, consume, engage with, and buy into. We're story driven. We need to tell better stories.
Ben, one of the things that I really wanted to hear from you that I don't know if I've gotten in the previous conversations, just more about your story, how you got into construction, what attracted you to it, and obviously what's keeping you there now.
My intro into construction is pretty classic, I think, of it's a classic blue collar story. It's all I've ever known. My dad, growing up, my dad worked in manufacturing, and then he, when I was pretty young, he switched over to residential construction. He has been a home designer all my life, basically. So very involved in the trades in construction. It's all my family. Like, I have a big family. Everybody's in construction. My brother owns a remodeling company. The other one works for a home builder. I at 16, 17 years old, I started working. I had a few different jobs in construction. Like, I was a yard rat at a drilling company for a few years early on, like when I was in school. And then I started at a landscaping business, and we did like landscape installs. Spent 4 years doing that, just on job sites, building retaining walls, putting in irrigation systems. That's all I did. And I spent, basically, it's just been in and out of different roles since then, like over the last 12 years or so of my official career. It has been in various roles in construction. I've never wavered from that. I've been in construction sales. I did a bunch of traveling around, selling concrete testing equipment for a small startup. So I was on commercial job sites in 30 different states over 2 years, and I've seen the madness that goes on pouring concrete. And so I'm kind of like, I don't have a ton of actual dirt world experience. BuildWitt's very dirt world focused. My dirt world experience is mini excavators and irrigation installs, but construction itself, blue collar, the trades, I'm about it. And it's because it's my people. It's what I've come up doing. It's what everybody I know does. And so for me, the BuildWitt story is like, the first time I saw it years ago, it was like, oh yeah, I'm behind this, because it's my people.
It's funny you bring that up. And, you mentioned the BuildWitt story. So for those that don't know what the BuildWitt story is, can you tell us a little bit about BuildWitt, what your focus is, how you're out there? And by the way, congrats on your new title, Chief Customer Officer, and what you're doing and how that role changed within the organization and what you're doing. That'd be great.
Totally. Yeah, I'll fill you in. So there's probably plenty of folks that don't know about BuildWitt yet. So I'll fill you in. We started, as in the company, this was before my time, but the founder, Aaron Witt, young guy, he's my age, we're like months apart. About 4 years ago, he started flying around, driving out to job sites, taking pictures of equipment. And he was basically a photographer for heavy civil contractors. And he has almost accidentally created a marketing agency, because people would be asking him, okay, you took pictures, can you do a video? Hey, what we really need help with is we need a website, or can you do social media? And he kind of grew his social media following. He grew his client base. He started adding some other photographers, videographers, and fast forward 3 years. Yeah, he was just over 3 years in. There's about 18 people in the company, mostly focused on marketing services. And then he called me about a year ago at this time, and had some ideas about what the future looked like for BuildWitt. And so over the last year, we've sort of morphed from only a marketing company to we kind of have three different focuses now, or three different divisions in the business. We have our marketing and services arm. We have a media arm. So that's instead of websites and social, that's really focused on creating media, creating content. So video and photo, very video heavy. So we have a media division, and then we have the software division, which is where I'm really focused right now. So over the last year, we've sort of morphed into those three different buckets. And our software, to be more specific about that, we originally started, the idea was, let's create leadership development software. So let's create content and let's help the dirt world, we call it, the heavy civil construction industry. Let's teach them leadership. Let's go out and find the experts, and then let's record that content and package it up in a nice, easy to use platform. And then we'll sell it to companies. And so we did that very quickly earlier this year, or last summer. We put it out into the world, and we start getting this feedback. And the feedback is, this is all good stuff. We need to know how to learn. We need to know how to lead. We need to teach our foremen, our superintendents how to lead. But we also need to just teach youngsters about construction. We need to teach them about dirt and how to put pipe together and how to run equipment and how to be safe and not get hurt on a job site. And all that, like, do the leadership stuff, but also, can you teach us skills? Help us teach our people skills, help us onboard new employees and get people ramped up. And so we quickly pivoted from only focusing on leadership content to, we need to rethink this whole thing, go back to the drawing board and figure out how do we help teach the actual skills that people need to be better at their job in the dirt world. And then how does that change how we package it up? Because people learn differently, particularly in the trades. And my generation, the younger generation, we learn differently. So let's cater to that, and let's make an effective software and effective content that really hits home to this next generation. And so to kind of summarize everything, we're really a very people-focused business. So there's plenty of software companies that serve this industry with estimating or HR software or project management software. We're very focused on people. We're focused on people in our media and how we actually tell stories. It's not just pictures of dirt. We're trying to tell stories of real people who are really doing this. And then in our services division, the marketing we're doing, the websites we're building, the recruiting services we're offering are all focused on people. They're focused on the people at companies that are trying to accomplish their business goals. And it's focused on candidates. It's focused on workforce. So we're a very human focused business. That's the whole point of this thing. And I've shared online, and you can dig around and find it. But I've shared, we have this, we call it the people life cycle, or the recruiting life cycle. And think of it as 4 different quadrants in this circle. As an industry, we need to be able to attract, we need to recruit or hire, we need to be able to train and develop people, and we need to be able to keep them, retain them. And once you keep them for years, that cycle continues. You know, the good attracts more good. You attract more people, you recruit them, you train them, and you retain them. But so we're creating solutions to solve all 4 of those problems. Our products and our services are all focused on one of those 4 areas, and kind of in that center is people. It's all about people. So I don't have the visual here, otherwise I would show it to you. But that's really where we're coming at this from.
That's okay. It's a podcast. No one would be able to see it anyway. So.
That's really cool, because I like how you transition to that, and then you think about like what you're doing and how it all interrelates together. But what I take from that is you build trust and rapport in a group of people, customers, and now you're expanding into other areas that they really need. And they're doing that with you because they trust you. So someone always says out there, well, how could taking some pictures, I can hear it now, how could taking some pictures of my trucks turn into a software business? Well, you just told the story. Or how does that turn into a marketing business? Well, there's a story, and it's just pour in great value, build that trust and rapport, and then you never know what's going to happen from there.
I would agree with that. And it's something that I see you guys doing, and I have a lot of respect for it. When you speak the language, I think you have a much better shot at creating that trust. When you don't speak the language, like if you're just a marketing firm, like a contractor doesn't get the joke. When you are a marketing firm for contractors, or I take pictures of dirt, do you want to hire me? It's like, oh, I have dirt. I'll take you. Come out here. And that I think that goes a long ways to building that trust. But I think you're absolutely right.
100%. I agree with you.
Speaking of getting the joke, I wanted to talk a little bit about your fabulous LinkedIn humor. You are definitely building a personal brand as like the king of dad jokes in construction. For anyone listening, you have to go find Ben on LinkedIn and watch the video of him testing jokes on his kids. It is absolutely delightful. And they're great. I know we have ripped off one or two of your jokes and used them on our Instagram. And people have told us how much they love them. And I'm like, that's not us. That's Ben. But the use of humor, I wanted to get your opinion on using humor, or the importance of using humor when you are in a role of leadership, and also when you are educating. Like, is that part of the BuildWitt brand as well? Do you think that it's important to be using humor in this space?
To me, it's a no-brainer. I don't have my 30-year career behind me in stuffy conference rooms, talking fancy business stuff to know any better. Humor is human. So my opinion on this is I want my people to bring their full selves to work. I want the best from people. And if that happens to mean that they have a sense of humor or a funny bone, or they like to laugh, then I think we should do that, whether it's at the office or not, or whether it's on the job site or not. Anybody who's been on a job site knows that practical jokes and humor is just part of the gig. Like, it's unheard of to not have that out in the blue collar world. It's just part of it. And so to dismiss humor, I think, is a huge miss. Or to create a company culture where no jokes are allowed, or lightening up a little bit isn't allowed, is just a massive miss. And I think people are missing out on people's actual potential when they dismiss humor, or they don't appreciate, they don't applaud humor. It's just part of being a human being. I don't understand why we would leave that at the house when we show up at the office, or when we show up on the job site. It just makes no sense to me.
Me either. I always wonder, I say it all the time around here. I was like, you're here at work. You spend 8, 9, 10 hours, some more. Anyway, a great majority of your day and week. Like, if it's not fun, it's just not fun. Like, nobody likes to do things that are not fun. So, right. I mean, if you're going to be at work and spend all this time together, like, to leave parts of your personality out and humor because it's like, quote, not appropriate, or you can't be effective, or you give the wrong image. Like, I always say, be what you're supposed to be, but be who you are. And like, we got to have fun. Like, you can't be inappropriate jokes. So that's ridiculous, but
right. You
shouldn't tell inappropriate jokes anyway. So it doesn't mean like you can't tell a joke at work. Like, I mean, so just be appropriate, but like, be your whole self all the time. And I mean, you try to have a lot of fun while you get more productive. And last I checked, when I'm having fun, I got a big smile on my face. I have a lot more energy, and I get a lot more done. If I'm not, and I'm miserable, I don't get much done, even if I'm trying. So
completely,
you make a great point.
And I do think there's probably some scientific reasons behind this too. And I've talked about this a little bit on LinkedIn. I've thought about this. There's a whole cocktail of feel-good hormones that go off inside of each of us when we laugh. Laughter is involuntary. It's not something you can control. If you've ever heard something or seen something funny at a funeral, you shouldn't be laughing at a funeral, but you can. It's been done. It's involuntary. And what it does is all those hormones create connection. human connection. And Scott, to your point, when we laugh with each other, then we're more connected. When you're more connected, you communicate better, you're more energetic, the enthusiasm in the room goes up, you deal with people better, people are more willing to help you. So I actually think, like, don't tell my coworkers this, but I think humor is a secret weapon. I think you can use it to get people on your side. How about that?
There you go.
I think it's a tool.
I couldn't agree with you more. I mean, it's absolutely true. I've seen it in my own personal experiences, whether it was on purpose or on accident, or regardless of what side it was on. And the occasions that I actually happen to be funny, I can see it benefiting me. And the other times where people are telling jokes and I'm laughing to death, I'm like, I'm endeared to that person. I remember what they said. I remember them. They're memorable. The story's memorable. The moment was more memorable. I mean, because to your point, there's a heightened level of emotions. It's going to draw you back to that moment much better than a bland, no emotional moment.
Right.
And there is scientific research to back it up. We just watched, we watch some kind of inspirational or motivational video every Monday in our Monday meeting. And someone just shared one on the scientific power behind laughter. And they were talking about how for teams, specifically for teams, and how when you laugh together, you release the dopamine, the cuddle hormone, the hormone that makes you feel good and makes you feel close to someone. And they said, so if you're working together in a group and you're laughing together, you actually feel more bonded and you retain information better, and you're more creative. I know that if I'm in a good mood and I have a good laugh, I'm way more likely to text Scott and be like, I just had a great idea for something, because your brain is firing, and humor is all about this disparate thought, this truth and this truth that aren't necessarily related. And I'm going to bring them together. That's using all the sides of your brain to make connections. So of course it makes you more productive and more creative and happier.
Right.
Speaking of a specific humor, another one of your LinkedIn posts, I may or may not have been stalking you on LinkedIn to prepare for this podcast. You had a great one about it's a meme from Despicable Me, and it's the devious plan for retaining employees. It's fabulous, and it shows the Despicable Me character Gru, I think his name is.
Yeah.
And it's like, we'll hire people, we'll treat them right, and they'll stay. And then the fourth quadrant is, and they'll stay. It's like bum, bum, bum. It's so good. But it's, and also speaking to your idea of the 4-point quadrant, what can contractors do? What should they be doing to invest in their employees and retain more of them? Because I think losing employees and thinking the myth of like, well, I can only offer them more money, right? I can only pay them so much, and so they leave for more money. I think that's a myth. I think that there's more to the job than just the paycheck. And I think people leave for reasons beyond the paycheck. So what do you think investing in your employees looks like?
Do you want me to answer it like me or in my Gru voice?
Oh gosh. We'll do you.
The Wi-Fi is out. So I love this question. Appreciate the kind words on the meme. I thought it was funny. I think you're totally right. It's not just pay, but it is a dichotomy. You can't underpay people and expect them to stay. But also, I've seen it go the other way more often than not, where companies try to overcompensate for a poor culture, lack of training, bad management by just jacking up the pay. And it turns out it doesn't work. The employee doesn't want more money. It's not about that. Of course, sure, we'd take more money. But at some point, you can't pay people enough to suffer those things. Poor leadership, poor management, getting abused by your boss, getting abused by your customer, and not having your boss stand in for you and have your back. So I think this is not an easy answer. It's a really complex issue. The more I'm learning and the more I'm seeing real life examples with our partners, our founding members at BuildWitt, our customers, there's a lot to it. And it's more than you can say in a meme. or maybe even a podcast. But I think if I had to boil down what I'm learning, it's that my generation, the next generation, and really just people in general, want to feel cared for, and they want to feel like their boss supports them. And where I've seen the biggest miss is when you don't feel like you have the support of your boss, but you're busting your butt to make it happen for your boss. That's when they bounce. That's when your employees will leave your company and they're going to go to somebody else's company, and they'll say it's for the extra $2 an hour or the extra $6 an hour or for the $5,000 signing bonus. Really, they just wanted to have somebody have their back.
Yeah.
And when a customer was being abusive to them and screaming at them on the job site, or they're not able to get the new tools they need, they're not able to get the materials they need because of the office, and they're not able to find their boss. Their boss is always gone on golf tournaments with customers or those sorts of things while they're out here in the sun or in the rain trying to make it happen. When you don't feel like you have the support, you're a goner. It's a matter of time. And so there's a lot to it, but I think ultimately that's what I'm learning is that employees want support. And some people might call it servant leadership, call it what you want. But you have to be able, as a leader, I think you have to be able to look your people in the eye and say, what can I do to support you? And then they say something, and your job as a leader is to go and get that thing that they said, or do your very best to figure out some alternative. So that's what people are looking for. Not more money.
You did such a good job. I'm listening to you articulate that now. And then I recall, on our webinar, you did such a good job about articulating problems in the workforce with labor shortages and how they're impacting everyone. And I'm hearing you talk about this now, but as we're trying to bring in the younger generation and make trades more cool and appealing again, or actually really just prove to everyone they are still cool and appealing, and you could have ran into them instead of not, and all these stigmas that have been placed are just not accurate. And there's a place, one of the biggest things about the Do Your Part campaign that we're talking about is there's a place for everybody. You can do it. It's construction, one of those rare places where you can get in construction and be anything you want, from laborer to executive to finance to marketing. I mean, it's one of the unique trades. How, in your mind, are you thinking that the construction world can draw that younger generation into construction and create that diversity and younger population to get excited again about construction?
This is a huge conversation we're having internally, that we're having with our partners and the people we work with. I believe we need a massive marketing campaign for this industry. Kids don't even know this stuff exists. And at risk of sounding like I'm just ripping off of Mike Rowe from Dirty Jobs, which is exactly what I'm doing, we need to. He has this great quote, something about, and I'll botch it after that intro, but it's something about why are we encouraging kids to go to school with money they don't have to get to qualify for jobs that don't exist. Something along those lines. Like, kids are coming out with tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars of student loan debt for jobs that don't exist anymore, when we could take the same 4 years, no debt, turn that debt into income instead, and be an apprentice, learn something, learn a skill. And but the issue to me seems to be a marketing thing. Kids aren't being told this. And our oldest is 7 years old. You better believe I'm making a huge effort at home to talk to my kids about opportunities. And I'm not saying they have to go be excavator operators, but whatever you want to be, you can go and be that. But look at this. Look at this job site. Look at this bridge they're building. Look at that train. Look at these things. Like, we need that, in the home, but we need a global marketing campaign for construction, for blue collar, and people. I believe people need to understand the impact that this industry has. I think people want to feel good about what they're doing, and people are finding meaning, need to find meaning in their work. and it gets very philosophical very quick. But Aaron Witt, the big boss over here, and a few others on our executive team, they were just in North Dakota last week at a coal mine. And this coal mine, they have this massive drag line that, like, every scoop that thing takes, it's like a swimming pool full of dirt that it's moving to mine this coal. And the coal that they're mining in that mine powers 1.5 million homes over in Minnesota. You tell me, like, 1.5 million people out of power, if these people don't show up to work, somebody has to do that work. Yeah. And yeah, it's 0 degrees, it's -20. These people are working hard around the clock, running these massive machines, maintaining these massive machines. They're doing it safely. They're going home at the end of the day. And I believe they can feel fulfilled. What they're doing is meaningful. And that's because 1.5 million people would be out of power if they didn't show up to work. Somebody has to do that work. So we need to tell that story. I think, to answer your question, Scott, we need to tell better stories.
I love that. You know, hearing you say that, and your focus is on the right spot, in my opinion. It's what we're trying to do in many ways as well. And so my simple thought is we should do it together. we should start it and pick parts of it and bounce it back and forth and do it. Because you're right. It's only going to benefit everyone else, and who else is going to do it?
And there are other organizations. Now? There are other organizations too. Sorry, Bennett, didn't mean to cut you off. There's Rock the Trades, which has truly inspiring stories. I was on their website today. There was a Barbie the Welder is one of their, like, icon figures in Rock the Trades, and she is a metal artist, right? And she didn't go to college. She's published 7 books. She's been her own boss the whole time. She's a skilled trades person and an artist. And to the point of, like, there is literally a story for every person inside construction. There's something that you could be doing. And we don't do a good job of telling that story. And I definitely want to partner in it, because I've got, like, just while you were talking, I was thinking to myself that there are opportunities to start. Because think about your 7-year-old, you know, every little kid that age loves the big trucks, right? My daughter is fascinated by cranes. And she's 6, absolutely fascinated by them. And of course, my husband, who's worked in HVAC for 20 years, he's like, oh yeah, I've driven one of those before. And she's like, what? Someone drives that thing? But we don't do a good job of keeping that love alive. At some point, we shift it to say, no, that's not a good job. You have to go to college to get a good job. Meanwhile, I have that, you know, thousands of dollars of student loan debt and had to, you know, climb up the corporate ladder for 20 years to get where I am today in an executive role. But my husband went into HVAC right outside of high school and was making 6 figures, you know, way faster than me, because he went to North Dakota and worked, you know, where the oil boom was and where they needed HVAC people. So it's telling those stories in a way that resonates and to your point, provides meaning and fulfillment to the job that you're doing.
100%. We get questions about this, and people on our team, they each have their roles and specialties, and they're probably more qualified to answer this than I am. But companies are wondering about getting on TikTok, or why should we be posting on social media? If you want to recruit, you want to attract and recruit the next generation, you have to go where the eyeballs are. Mm-hmm. And if the eyeballs are on TikTok, it's not my fault. I don't know what to tell you. If you don't get a TikTok. If you want to attract those folks, get a TikTok account, create content, meet them where they are. And I think from the storytelling perspective, it's not about writing novels. It's about creating things that people can watch, read, consume, engage with, and buy into. We're story driven. We're humans. We're story driven. let's tell better stories. That could be long form documentaries, like some of the stuff we're working on. That can be short stories, 5-minute clips from YouTube on somebody who works in that world, or it can be 60 seconds on TikTok. The medium doesn't matter as much as the message. We need to get better at telling the message and meeting people where they are. That's my 2 cents.
Mm-hmm. As a lifetime storyteller, as a writer for my career, I would just throw in there, like, when you start telling stories, don't be afraid. Like, just start. Every client I've ever worked with in my marketing career has been like, well, we don't want to come off as unprofessional, or, well, we don't want people to get the wrong. Shut up. Just do the thing. Just do the thing and keep doing the thing and acknowledge it's going to suck for a little while and then it'll get better. Like, you don't get better unless you keep doing it. Nobody writes, the great American novel their first time. Nobody's first TikTok is good.
Yep.
Just do it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Good advice. I heard that advice from Autumn. Personally, I can tell you that's exactly what she said. She said it probably 4 years ago, 2.5, 3 years ago, 3.5 years ago, and up until we finally started. And I said all the same things she just said.
Here you are.
Well, Ben, awesome. I have a few questions that I always like to ask everybody. And so I'm going to shoot them out to you kind of in a rapid fashion and see what your gut feeling actions are. Okay.
All right. I'm ready.
One little thing. What is the one thing that you believe determines a business's success or failure?
Taking advice from people who don't know what they're talking about. So I'm not sure I'm qualified to answer that question. But I will say, there's probably 50 different answers to this. Mm-hmm. But I don't know if this is the number one thing, but this is just something that I've been thinking about lately, is a lack of, it's not passion, but hunger. Another micro quote: don't follow your passion, but always bring it with you. And whether you're a tradesman or looking to start some new thing, or you're me, and what we're trying to do at BuildWitt, I think the hunger to do it is the one thing. Like, it's what you can control, and you will go to the ends of the earth if you're hungry enough. If not, you'll hit an impediment and quit. And people just quit too early.
I love that. I really do. What advice do you wish you heard at the beginning of your career?
I made a really stupid mistake early on, and I started giving advice to people. At 21 years old, I quit my good paying, job with a nice trajectory doing landscaping. And I went on my own as a self-proclaimed business consultant for contractors. So it's a horror story. It really is. I've talked about it online a little bit, but nobody wants to buy advice from people who have never done anything. And so I learned that lesson the hard way. I wish somebody would have told me at 10 years ago or so, stop thinking you know everything, work really hard, buy a house, and then buy some rental houses and start to build your financial foundation instead of sabotaging yourself by trying to do the impossible. And just take a chill pill. You have plenty of time.
Not bad advice there, buddy. That's not bad advice at all. Do you have any certain pieces of wisdom or advice that you want to offer out to folks now? If you had 2 main things that you wanted to put out there, what would they be?
I think for this audience and for our conversation, this is something I think about quite a bit. The storytelling. I write on LinkedIn. I've written on LinkedIn basically every day for 5 years, and it takes time and it takes effort, and I have a long ways to go. But I wish that more people would write what they actually think and they would publish it online. And it's not about building some personal brand, or it's not about whatever, this or that. Like, forget all of that. Just if you can learn to write, then if you can write, you can think. Writing is thinking. So I think that people would do really well, no matter whether you're a laborer starting out and you're 18 years old, or you are some senior executive, I wish people would write about what they're learning. And I think if they could do that, we'd start a lot more conversations. There'd be a lot more opportunities, a lot more collaboration. Look at how you guys and myself got hooked up. It's because we all talk online.
Yeah.
There's a lot more of this stuff out there if people would put their words out or shoot videos, shoot content, tell their story. So that's the one thing that that's what I would say. I would encourage people to speak up.
I love that. So Ben, I don't have many other things to ask, but is there anything that you wish I asked you that I had not?
No, you guys, you both did fabulous at a great natural conversation, but I wanted to give credit where credit is due. You're in the funding world, and I wrote a joke that went pretty well, and I've shared it once or twice, but it was inspired by you. I want you to know that. The joke goes like this. The excavation contractor on the Tower of Pisa project, he wasn't able to get paid, and so he put a lien on the property.
You love it.
I love it.
That joke was inspired by you, so I appreciate it.
How did I inspire you for that joke?
Well, you're in the construction money world, and for whatever reason, I thought about liens. I think you talked about liens, and I'm like, I got one here. This is juicy.
That's good. That one had to have your kids laughing. You might have to show them a picture of the Leaning Tower of Pisa, but I'm sure they thought that was funny.
Yeah.
I bet our friends at Level Set would get a real kick out of it.
Yeah.
That's like right up there. That's right up their lane. Oh my gosh, too funny. Oh,
It is.
thank you, Ben.
Ben, you've been awesome, man. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it.
Likewise.
Bye, Ben. Thank you.